I'm 24, and I think I ruined the best relationship I've ever had because I slowly became emotionally unavailable without realizing it. My girlfriend and I had been together for almost 3 years. When I got accepted into a university in a big city, everything changed. We both came from a small hometown, and suddenly we were trying to build a life somewhere completely different. She moved with me. I never asked her to leave everything behind for me, but she did it because she believed in us. At first, things were honestly good. We lived in a tiny apartment, struggled with money sometimes, argued over small things, but we still felt connected. We'd stay up late watching random videos together, go on walks at night through the city, cook cheap meals and joke about how bad they tasted. It felt like we were building a future together. But somewhere along the way, I changed. University became stressful. I felt pressure constantly about money, school, and my future. And instead of talking about it, I bottled everything up. At first, I didn't even notice it happening. I just became quieter, more distant, less emotionally present. And the worst part is that I convinced myself I was fine. My girlfriend noticed before I did. She'd ask me what was wrong, and I'd tell her nothing. She'd tell me I felt cold, and instead of listening, I'd get defensive. If she came to me upset about something I did, I always tried to explain myself instead of understanding her feelings. She would say, "You hurt me when you said that." And instead of comforting her, I'd say, "That's not what I meant," or "You're misunderstanding me." I always had an excuse. But I never realized that explaining your intentions doesn't erase how someone feels. Over time, our fights became exhausting. Small disagreements turned into huge arguments, where we brought up old unresolved problems over and over again. Nothing ever really got fixed. We just kept hurting each other. And looking back now, I think she spent so much time trying to emotionally reach me, while I kept pushing her away without realizing it. She cried during arguments sometimes, and this part honestly destroys me to admit. There were moments where I barely reacted. I saw the person I loved crying in front of me, and instead of comforting her, I just felt numb, like my emotions were locked somewhere deep inside me. Sometimes she'd have panic attacks after our fights, and instead of holding her properly, I'd just sit there emotionally frozen. At the time, I told myself I was overwhelmed. But now I realize how alone she probably felt standing right beside me. Eventually, I convinced myself that maybe the relationship just wasn't working anymore. So after another terrible period of fighting, I moved out into a shared student apartment. At the time, I thought distance would help us figure things out. But the second I got there, everything hit me. The silence, the emptiness, the absence of her. I remember sitting alone in that tiny room surrounded by boxes. And for the first time in a long time, I actually felt something. And it broke me. Because suddenly all the emotions I had buried came rushing back at once. I started replaying everything in my head. Every moment she tried to communicate. Every moment she just wanted comfort instead of defense. And I realized she had been fighting for us long before I ever started fighting for us. A few weeks later, she told me that her process of getting over me had already started months ago. That message destroyed me, because I realized she had been emotionally alone for a long time while we were still together. And honestly, she had every right to feel that way. Since then, we still talk sometimes, but every interaction feels bittersweet now, because I can still see the person I love. But I can also feel the emotional distance between us. She told me something that really stayed with me. She said, "You had so much time to realize these things." And she's right. That's what hurts the most. I didn't change because I suddenly became wise. I changed because I finally felt the consequences of losing her. And now I understand why it's hard for her to trust me. Because words are easy after damage is already done. Anybody can promise change when they're afraid of losing someone. The hard part is actually becoming different consistently. And honestly, I don't even recognize the person I became during that last year. I don't like how emotionally cold I became. I don't like how defensive I was. I don't like that the person I loved most felt unheard while standing right in front of me. That guilt follows me every day. Now, instead of begging for another chance, I'm trying to actually change. Learning how to communicate properly. Learning how to listen without immediately defending myself. Learning how to be emotionally present instead of shutting down. Because I never want someone I love to feel alone while standing beside me ever again. I still love her deeply, and maybe this realization came too late. Maybe it didn't. I honestly don't know, but for the first time in a long time, I'm finally being honest with myself. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe.